Welcome back to our deep dive looking at enterprise blockchain. We've compared Onyx, Quant, and Hedera, looking at our categories, but now let's get into how they're actually being used in the real world. What are some examples of, enterprise-grade solutions?
Right. Scores and summaries only tell us so much. Let's see what these tokens are really doing. What are some concrete examples?
Okay, let's start with Onyx, with XCN. It's supposed to be the utility token for their platform, Chain Core. The idea is that companies can use XCN for all sorts of things within their own blockchain applications.
So it's like creating a mini economy inside each company's blockchain world.
But are there any real examples of this? I'm still not totally convinced about their adoption.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
They talk about past collaborations, but it's tough to find real-world examples of XCN being used on a large scale. Lots of potential.
Right.
But where's the proof?
It's like they built a fancy factory, but no one knows what's being made inside. Okay, let's look at Quant. Their focus is interoperability. So I'm guessing their use cases are different.
Totally different. Quant's overledger acts like a bridge between blockchains.
Okay.
Which is super valuable for companies that need to use multiple blockchain networks. Think about supply chains, data sharing, settling transactions, all that can be made easier with Quant.
So they're not trying to be the best blockchain. They're trying to make all the blockchains work together.
Right.
And they seem to be getting some big partners on board. Exactly. One example is SIA, a big European payments network. They're working to integrate blockchain into traditional financial systems.
Wow.
Which could be huge for cross-border payments, make them faster, cheaper, and more secure.
Okay, so they're solving a real problem. They have the partnerships. It sounds like Quant's finding its place. Now, what about Hedera? They're taking a broader approach,
right?
Trying to be the base for a lot of different applications.
Exactly. Hedera is being used for everything from micropayments and tokens to supply chain tracking, even voting systems. They're not limiting themselves.
Wow, it's like they're providing the tools for a whole new digital world. Can you give some specific examples? It's always easier to see the potential when you see it in action.
Sure. Take their partnership with ServiceNow, for example. ServiceNow is huge in digital workflows.
Okay.
And they're using Hedera to create a record of business processes that can't be tampered with. This is huge for transparency and accountability.
It's like having a permanent, unchangeable record of everything that happens in a complex process.
Yeah.
No more arguments, just clear data. What other interesting use cases are there?
Another one is AdStacks, an ad platform built on Hedera. They're using Hedera to make digital advertising more transparent and less prone to fraud. Imagine being able to track every ad impression and click and make sure your money's reaching real people.
That sounds amazing for marketers. No more shady stuff, just openness. And those are just two examples. Hedera seems to be popping up everywhere. What's driving this?
It's a few things. Their tech is fast, secure, and cheap. Their governance with that council brings stability and trust. And they're really encouraging developers and businesses to build on their network.
Sounds like they've made the perfect place for innovation to happen. So quick recap. We've seen how each token's being used. XCN wants to power custom blockchains for companies, but adoption is still unclear.
Yeah.
Quant is connecting different blockchains, and Hedera is a strong base for all kinds of applications.
Good summary. But remember, this is just where things are today. Blockchain is always changing, so what's hot now might be old news tomorrow.
True. It's a fast-moving space, which makes it exciting and challenging to keep up with. But that's also what makes it so interesting, right?
Absolutely.
We're seeing a whole new tech paradigm being born.
Yeah. Before we move on to the last part where we talk about the future and these tokens' impact on finance, I want to touch on ISO 2022 compliance again.
Okay.
It sounds technical, but it's important when we talk about enterprise blockchain.
Okay. Break it down for those who might not remember what it is, what does it mean, and why should we care?
Okay, imagine you want to send a letter to someone who speaks a different language.
Right.
You need a translator. ISO 2022 is like a universal translator for financial messages. It makes sure banks and institutions around the world can talk to each other.
So it's like the Rosetta Stone of finance. And
yeah.
You said Hedera is the one that's often mentioned with ISO 2022 compliance?
Right.
Why is that?
Well, Hedera's been all about enterprise adoption from the start, so they've been paying attention to what the financial world needs. And with those big names on their council, it makes sense for them to focus on meeting those standards.
It's like they're building a bridge between blockchain and the existing financial system. This could be a huge plus as banks get more comfortable with blockchain.
Exactly. By speaking the language of traditional finance, Hedera can fit right in with existing systems, and that opens the door for a more connected and efficient financial world.
It sounds like Hedera is really putting themselves in the lead for companies that want to use blockchain. But what about Quant and Onyx?
Yeah.
Can they catch up on ISO 2002 and 2?
It's possible. Quant's interoperability focus means they could connect systems that already use ISO 2022, even if their token isn't directly compliant.
Okay.
And Onyx could definitely change their tech to meet the standards, but they'll need to move fast to stay competitive.
So it's not a total loss for them.
Right.
But Hedera has a big head start. They're checking all the boxes. Strong tech, good governance, real-world use, and now compliance with those important financial standards.
Yeah, it's a strong package.
It is. But remember, blockchain's always changing, new things come up, new challenges, and what matters most is being able to adapt.
Well said. And that leads us to the final part of our deep dive. We'll explore the long-term impact of these tokens, their potential to change traditional finance, and what will determine their success in the end.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into enterprise blockchain. We've examined Onyx, Quant, and Hedera, looked at their use cases, their strengths and weaknesses, even how they stack up against those ISO 2022 standards.
Yeah.
We've seen how each of these is trying to find a place in the future of finance, but now it's time to zoom out a bit and think bigger. Do you think these tokens can really change the financial world? Or are we getting a little ahead of ourselves?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's one that people have strong opinions about. Some people think blockchain is the key to a more transparent, fair, and efficient financial system. They see it as a way to give power back to individuals and level the playing field.
Right.
Others aren't so sure. They think it's a solution looking for a problem.
Yeah.
And they worry about things like disruption, volatility, and even misuse.
So it's like we're at a crossroads. One path leads to a decentralized future where power is spread out and people have more control.
Right.
The other path keeps us with the centralized institutions with their existing system.
Yes. Yeah, and the choices we make now will decide which path we go down. But here's the thing. I don't think it has to be one or the other.
So it doesn't have to be a total revolution getting rid of the current system.
Right. Blockchain could work alongside traditional finance, even make it better.
Okay.
It's about finding the balance, the right uses, the right partnerships.
So instead of a big upheaval, we might see a gradual shift, a slow integration of blockchain into our financial systems.
Exactly. It's like adding a new thread to an existing tapestry, making it stronger, more resilient, maybe even a bit more beautiful. It's not about destroying the old. It's about building something better together.
That's a great analogy. So from this perspective, which of these tokens do you see as having a big role in shaping this new financial future?
Well, based on our deep dive,
Yeah.
Hedera looks like a good fit for that. Their tech, strong governance, and their focus on compliance make them a good fit for both blockchain and traditional finance.
Like they're the diplomats building bridges between two different worlds. What about Quant and Onyx? Do they have a place in this evolving landscape?
Absolutely. Quant, with their focus on interoperability, could be really important as we see more and more blockchains.
Right.
They could be the ones connecting everything, making sure different platforms can talk to each other.
So they're like the networkers, building a connected blockchain universe. And Onyx, they're behind right now. But could they still find their niche?
It's possible. They have that experience working with big institutions. And if they address those concerns about transparency and their tokenomics, they might still find their place.
So there's room for everyone, as long as they bring something good to the table.
Right.
It's like a big food experiment.
Yeah.
With each chef adding their ingredients and recipes to make a diverse and delicious menu.
I like that.
And like any good meal, it's about finding what you like. Choosing which token to support depends on your own priorities, your risk tolerance, and what you see for the future.
Right.
So we've gone from evaluating tokens to talking about the future of finance. It's been a journey. But before we finish, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought.
Okay, what is it?
We've talked about scores, use cases, even ISO compliance. But there's one important thing we haven't really addressed.
Okay.
The human element.
You mean the people behind these projects, the communities, and the individuals who will actually use them?
Exactly. It's not just about the tech in the end. It's about people. It's about finding solutions that help individuals, that encourage collaboration,
Yeah.
and make a fairer, more accessible financial system for everyone.
That's an important point to remember. Technology is just a tool. It's up to us how we use it.
Right. So when you think about these three tokens, Onyx, Quant, and Hedera, don't just look at the data.
Yeah.
Look at the people behind them, what they stand for, and the vision they're trying to achieve.
Good advice.
We've covered a lot, but this is just the start of the conversation. We encourage you to do your own research,
Yes.
explore the projects that interest you, and share your thoughts in the comments.
Let us know which token stood out to you and why.
Yeah.
We want to hear your perspective.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of enterprise blockchain.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We'll be back soon with another look at the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.